Hey y'all, welcome. This is Given Name. I'm here with Brandy. Brandy, could you introduce
Hi,
yourself?
I'm Brandy Paxton. I am a spiritualist. I'm an author. I am also an HR maverick and a mom and a person with a cool story about my name.
Love that. Could you tell us how to spell your name? It's on the screen, but just for the people who are listening audio.
Sure. So Brandy is Brandi. And then Paxton is P as in Paul, Axton.
Awesome. And where are you from? Where's your hometown?
I'm originally from Jackson, Tennessee,
Okay.
down south, and I am now living in the Midwest in Ohio.
Okay.
So I am a Black female millennial woman. Okay.
hmm
I'm excited about it. I am 40 years old, and I think that's it, right? I think I hit them all, did I?
You did, and you definitely don't look 40. You don't.
Oh, thank you.
Last thing, where are your parents from?
So my father is originally from Washington, D.C. Um, that side of my family is very deeply rooted in government, and they've worked in
Mm.
D.C. government for many generations, at least four that I can go back. And um, he moved to Tennessee and he lived in Memphis because my grandmother was from that area. My grandmother was born on a plantation
Hmm.
in Mississippi. So her side of the family was in the Tennessee, Mississippi area. So he moved to Memphis and he went to an HBCU in Jackson, Tennessee called Lane College, by which I
Okay.
was a legacy. And when he moved, he met my mother, who is from Jackson, Tennessee, and her family line is from that area. And so my mom was working at a ice cream place, and he met her while he was on break at college. He was the president of the Alphas. He was class president, and he was actually my grandmother's class president because my grandmother went back to college and graduated with him.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, what a story. Okay, first of all, the fact that your father was so accomplished is I didn't know.
And he
Wow.
was a bishop as well.
He was a bishop?
He was a bishop. Yeah, theologian from his church. At least 15 other churches sprouted. Yeah, and he was what they called in the Pentecostal doctrine a district elder. So he had many churches that he oversaw. So I spent my entire childhood traveling all over the country because my dad was this bishop, but he was also over the national choir for the yes, for the Pentecostal Association we were members of. So my dad was that dude.
He's that dude. There's more. But wait, there's more again.
There's
Wow.
yes, there's so much more. My mom is an author. My mom is currently a pastor. Um,
Okay.
yep. And my mom travels all over the globe. So she preaches um in Africa, she preaches in London, she preaches she's booked and busy, honey. So I come from two powerhouse parents.
Yes.
And I have kind of followed in those footsteps. I were also am a philanthropist, so I work in nonprofit. I'm on a few boards myself. So yeah, they did a good job.
They did a great job. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you the first question and the big question.
Okay.
Tell me about your name.
So my name is Brandy Michael Paxton. And this is all Googleable. So, I know some people are a little bit more private, but you can find this out online. But um, my father, um, his name was Michael. And I was initially supposed to be a boy. So my family thought, all right, here's baby number 6. and we're gonna have a second boy. I have one brother. We're 10 years apart, but they thought I was gonna be a boy, so they got all excited about it. They named me Brandon Michael, and they
Brandon with an I?
Brandon Brandon.
Oh.
And then Michael, which is my father's first name and my brother's middle name. So that was supposed to be what my name was. So they had me all named. And they also thought that I was going to be a human vegetable. Like, I was not going to have very much mobility. I was very much of a miracle child. So they tried to encourage my mother to abort me. My family's incredibly religious, so they were like, we're not doing that. And so on January 11th, at around
Come on, Capricorn.
Under the Capricorn sun and a Virgo moon.
What a combination.
I know, right? And I'm a Taurus rising.
You're all of the earth signs.
I am.
Wow. A powerhouse for sure.
Oh, well. Wow. That day on a Friday, I'm also born on a Venus day.
Ooh.
At around lunchtime, here comes a little girl that's not a boy. And so my mom had to change my name from Brandon Michael to Brandy, Brandi, Michael, which is spelled Mycole.
Oh.
Yes. And so my father was like, when they handed me to him, he was like, this is not my baby. I had a boy. And they said, no, you had a girl. Here she is. And so that is how my name came to be. Now, if I can fast forward, and I don't want to take over, you tell me.
This is your story time, girl. Tell it.
Okay. So then I get pregnant, right? I get married. I have a hard time having a baby. I go through several years of infertility issues. I ended up having surgery. Bam, got pregnant on the first time after the surgery. So then it's time to name my child. And we come up with a few different names and we're kind of tossing them around. And then we get to the hospital the night before my son was born. And his godfather says, oh, I already picked the name. I had bibs made already. And I was like, wait a minute. We were just talking. We weren't sure. And he was like, well, I've had these bibs made. They're embroidered. So this is his name. And so his name is Paxton.
Yes.
Paxton. First name. And Michael, his middle name, but it's spelled like my middle name, Mychol. So I ended up having a Paxton. And then I got divorced and now I'm back to Paxton as my maiden name. Yeah.
Back to Paxton. I love last names as first names. I love when people do that. My last name is Jeffries, so I don't know how that's going to translate to a first name, but I love like Paxton, Baxter, even like, what was it? Parker.
Oh, yeah.
Parker. I love the name Parker. But yes, I love last names as first name is like one of my, I'll go down a rabbit hole.
But I was trying to incorporate my ex-husband's family's names as well. And the more we played around with that, my ex-husband was like, I don't really care about that. It's not a big deal. And so here comes the godfather to my son saying, this is the name. So, but yeah, my parents picked my name. And it really wasn't much for them to do. They just had to go from Brandon Michael to Brandy Michael. But the spelling is different. So
it's so unique because there's other B names for girls, like Brandon to Brandy is interesting. I thought it was going to be like Brandon spelled with an I-N, and then they were like, we're having a girl, Brandy it is. But no, like, okay. That's Well, I don't know. I don't know what it's like. I don't have a child, so I don't know what it's like in the delivery room when you're like, "We're having a boy," right? And they hand you a girl.
I
So
know.
they might have been in a bit of shock. Yeah.
My mom was definitely shocked. They were shocked for many different reasons because, here, everything, according to everything the doctors had said, I was small. I was not going to have fully functioning mobility. I was not going to be, I probably wouldn't live long. And I was going to be a boy. And so then I come out with lots of lungs because I'm also a singer.
Ooh.
And I was a stage kid from 2 to 19. So I've been on the Apollo, I went to the American Idol, I did pageants, and I've been on billboards, and I did theater.
Your
Yes.
family is so awesome. Like, they're just
Oh,
excellent. Y'all are
thank,
excellent.
thank you. And I come from a long line of singers. So I get here and I have these lungs that are fully functioning.
Mhm.
I am fully aware. I'm passing all of the tests that they're giving me. And then I'm a girl. And then in an instant, my mom has to make the decision like, oh, she's going to be Brandy Mike Cole. So, and that was even before my dad had even laid eyes on me yet. So,
Okay.
mm-hmm.
So that was her, like, in the moment decision.
Yes.
It was on her. Okay. That's very
Mm-hmm.
cool. Can I ask, how do you process that that is what they expected of you, like, as a child?
Mm. How do I process? Repeat the question for me again.
Yeah. So we're saying that you were intended or, like, proposed to be a boy,
Mm-hmm.
underweight, underdeveloped,
Yes.
basically a vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that that is what your assumption was before you even got here,
Mm-hmm.
how do you process that?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. Um, I know that I'm chosen. God selected me. He wanted me to be here, right?
Yeah.
And um my mission in life since I was 2 years old has been to emit light into the world, right? At 2
Mhm.
years old, I my parents took me to a radio station. They sat me on the table and they gave me the mic and they let me sing on the radio. Okay?
Oh.
And immediately I feel like something inside of me was like, oh, you're supposed to talk, you're supposed to use your voice, right? And so knowing that story and how I came to be, hearing people talk about, because my siblings are considerably older than I am,
Mhm.
um they're between 7 and 15 years older than me. So I was a big oops when I got
Mhm.
here. There was no plan for me to be here.
Surprise. We're calling
It
it
was
surprise.
a surprise. So I know that God intended for me to be here, and not just to be here, but to be a light.
Mhm.
And I don't squander that. I don't play games with that. And so everything that I do is with intention. I also call myself the Change Guru. I have a company called the Change Guru. Everywhere I go, I know that it is part of my job to bring change, to help people wake up and to transform, because that's why he wanted me here. So I live in that. I walk in that every day.
That's beautiful. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear it.
Thank
What a it's a turnaround story, I guess, but it was like what they thought was gonna happen, and then you come out and you're so amazing, and you're touching, like you said, Apollo, American Idol, you're
you.
out here.
Out here.
Wow, what a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thank
Okay, next question. Growing up, how did you feel about your name?
I loved it. And one other reason I loved it was because, so once again, my dad was a bishop, so we couldn't listen to a lot of secular music. But Brandy Norwood was
Yeah?
my everything. She has always been big for me. Everybody that knows me knows how much I love Brandy. I have the dolls. I have indoctrinated my child into the sacred, the
Let him
sacred,
know.
she is the vocal Bible, right? And so for me, she also lived, and when they lived in Carson, California, she lived 2 doors down from my aunt. So I thought that was
Mm,
super cool, right?
that's the connection.
Um,
Yeah.
yes, it was like I always had this name, but we weren't, our names aren't spelled exactly the same. But I just thought it was so cool that there was another brand. I didn't know a lot of Brandies, but I
Mhm.
always had this huge connection with Brandy. She's she's older than I am by a little bit, but I think, especially being in middle school and being very active, singing and representing my school in places, people just was like, "Oh, that's just because you like Brandy," and it was like, "Well, I do like Brandy, right?" I had somebody to look up to, so
Aw.
I loved it. Yeah.
That's amazing. So were you allowed to listen to Brandy in your religious household?
That was like my daddy made that loophole for me, honey. It was, oh yeah, for sure. Yes. Brandy, Anita Baker. As a vocalist, you need to practice, right? You need to have
Yeah.
you it is My father was a singer. My brother is a music teacher and a music pastor. Like, music is all the way through our blood, right? And so, yes, there was a lot of secular music I didn't get to listen to, but Brandy was always a light, and my parents kind of saw that as like she was okay, and she's still okay. So yeah, yeah. Between
Love
Brandy
that.
and Anita Baker, you really can't go wrong, honey.
You listen, I grew up in a religious household too, and all we heard was gospel. There was
Yeah.
no Anita Baker, there was no Temptations, there was none of that.
Mhm.
Also, the current secular music, I had no idea. So the fact that you got to listen to Brandy is so cool because I
Yeah.
could. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad was also, I mentioned this, he was a singer, he was over our national choir, but in college he sang in choir and he toured and things like that, right? And so, but my daddy was a thug. I mean, out of all the things he did before, he was that guy on the corners, making a little pass here and there. And so he had this street mentality. So a lot of times we harmonized to the Temptations. We
Mm.
harmonized to Al Green, just he and I. My parents ended up getting divorced when I was 12 years old, and then my dad raised me the rest of the way. And we built this relationship, um where we danced. It was just like I got a whole different father than what he had been before. And
Mhm.
um it was such an honor. He bought me the entire Anita Baker discography one Christmas. I think I was 16 or 17.
Mm.
And I was like in tears. I was so excited about it because it was like I got to see a human side of him, right? But he knew that was one of the I needed Anita Baker in order to soar. I needed her in order to develop my skills, right? And so I know this has nothing to do with the name piece, but um yeah, it was very important to me.
Love that. And again, this is a storytelling podcast. So tangents are fine with me. Speak your
Good.
truth.
Good.
Do you have any different feelings towards your name today?
I love it even more now. I love my name. And I'll tell you this. This is another thing about my name. When I got married, I was so in love with my name that I hyphenated it.
Mm.
I didn't just take on my ex-husband's name. Because I was proud to be a Paxton. The name
Mm.
Paxton means city of peace.
Huh.
Yes. And my father was very proud. He was a very proud Paxton. And my ancestors were very proud. And they were amongst the people who laid the foundation in DC. They were
Hmm.
amongst the people who went to war. My father marched with Dr. King and went to jail for it, by the way, when he was in college.
He was in
um,
there deep.
yes, yes. And so I had a very militant family in that, on my father's side. And then I come from, my grandmother on my mother's side is also a pastor. She was the first woman pastor in Wisconsin state history. And so that name alone in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, my family is, I have so much family in Milwaukee, but that name of Price is very well known. Everywhere you
Mhm.
go, they're like, oh, you're so and so's granddaughter, right? And so I had these two powerhouse names. Like our names meant a lot. And when it was time for me to get married, I'm a Paxton. Like I would, and I looked just like my daddy. I wasn't giving up my daddy's name, honey.
Mm.
So, and by that time I had already, like, had a career under Paxton. And so I hyphenated my name. And so once I got divorced, my aunt, my dad's sister, who's still alive and 90 years old, was
Hmm.
like, you go get your name changed back to Paxton immediately. You
Okay.
she was not playing any games. She was like, you must do this immediately, because you are a Paxton. And I was like, well, I was gonna kind of keep, my name for a little while. And she was like, no, you are a Paxton. And so I was like, yes, ma'am. And I marched my little self right on down to the Social Security office and I did just that. And I have no regrets.
Love that.
Yes.
I love that she was like, "No, I have something to say. Change it
Hmm.
now. Don't
Yes.
not tomorrow. Right
Yes.
now."
And
Okay.
she sent me a check in the mail. She said, I don't know how much it costs, but here it is. Go get it done now. And I was like, okay. And I think I'm thankful for that because she holds the stories of the Paxton name, right?
Mm.
And for years, we've been working on our ancestry.
Mhm.
And she can remember back to my great great grandmother and talking about slavery and being on a plantation. And she remembers telling me stories, and I have pictures here of my great great grandfather working right across the street from the White House in a restaurant. My grandmother worked in government but was not allowed to work in the White House. She had to work across the street and in the basement, as a secretary very early. This is before they were really allowing blacks to work. So there's so much power, so much pride in me being a Paxton. And my aunt takes she takes a special interest in preserving that history, even the things that were owned. And I have my father's childhood chair. So my if my father were alive, he would be 75. But this chair is older than he is.
Mm.
So it belonged to someone, right? But it's the Paxton baby chair, And
Yeah.
so I have taken special interest as my aunt has passed these things down to me. Like, okay, now you are now the holder of these secrets and these mysteries of what it means to be a Paxton. Honey, I am so proud of that. And I have the last original pictures of my great grandparents. Um, there, if any of my siblings, any of my cousins are looking for these pictures, my aunt has passed these down. I am proud of my name. My name means a lot to me, and it's not just because it was my father's name. It there is so much history and power in having been a Paxton, having originally been a gift to children for their wedding. My ancestors were gifts. They were slaves that were given to the slave masters' children when they got married. And we have these documents where this child got two Paxton spelled in a different way, and this child got two Paxton spelled in a different way. And my lineage survived that. And not only
Mhm.
did they survive it, they went on to thrive and work in government and lay the foundation in DC and in Virginia. And I'm proud of that. Like, you cannot be, this is not regular stock here. This is powerful stock. And so as my aunt is in her 90s and still traveling the world. She was in Egypt last year and she spends her summers in Martha Vineyard, and she is still She just got new hips and new knees, baby, and
She better.
she ain't slowing down, right?
No.
So it reminds you that somebody fought for these names. Your names aren't just yours. Someone died for that name. And I have an uncle and great uncle who served in the military under these names and lost their lives in the military. They were colored soldiers. They weren't even allowed, you couldn't even sign their name. I have their cards, their registration cards for the military, their scroll cards, and all they could do was write an X, right? There's so much.
Yeah.
And the moment we slow down and think, oh wow, these are powerful people, of course I want to give that name to my son. Of course I
Mhm.
want him to be a little city of light, you know, you
Yeah.
know, because that is the blood that runs through my veins. So yeah,
So he's Paxton.
he's Paxton Michael, and it's spelled similarly to mine, except he has an H in the middle.
Got it.
So
Okay. Yes.
Paxton, Paxtonmychol, but still pronounced Michael.
Michael. Yeah. You
Mhm.
have such a rich history. Like,
Oh, thank
I don't even know if I have any more first name questions for you. Like your family is so important and I've never heard somebody talk about the pride of their last name like that. Because when you started talking about like um being sold as like marriage gifts and then people not spelling the name right, which is why we have all of these variations of last names. And it's just
you. Mhm.
like
Yes.
nobody knew that this was an ex and like that alone, but like just the fact that that's what you turn that around into, like it wasn't a story of oppression or downtrodden, like it was a story of this name survived all of that
Mm-hmm.
and we continue to build on it. It's so, I don't want to say refreshing, but it's like it's illuminating.
You know,
Like I've never thought of my last name like that.
I have to. I'm going to say this last thing, and then I'll hush. In DC, there is the Paxton family home. It was
Hmm.
my family's home, and it's on French Street. And this home was so popular, and they hosted so many parties, and I have so many beautiful pictures. In the 50s, my aunt got married in the family home, and it was the epitome of black glamour. You would think you were looking at Ebony magazine, where in the South they were so oppressed, they were sharecropping, right? My
Mhm,
mother's family was, they were sharecroppers. They were not living a glamorous life. But then I have this Paxton name where these people were working in government, they were working in restaurants as well, right? And so in the daytime they're working, building a life, and then at nighttime they're cooking. But they did enough to have this beautiful home and to throw these
mhm,
beautiful weddings and to have this beautiful luxury that it makes you proud. How
yeah,
could I be sad? They weren't sad. They found a way to make it work. They came to Virginia. They were on the plantations in Virginia, and they made their way to DC, and they made their way into government, and they made their way into not cooking because they had to, they loved to
mm,
cook.
mhm,
And the person I am today, and everybody that knows, I'm a cook, honey. My daddy taught me how to cook. My dad was a
mm,
great cook, right? And so I never knew that that's where it was coming down in the vein, but there was such pride. I also went to law school, right? And I wanted to be a lawyer, and ended up going back to law school to get a master's in jurisprudence, and then decided, okay, it's too much politics. I'm out. I don't like that.
mhm,
Um, but I've always had this. thing for justice and thinking about the least of them, right? But
Yeah.
also feeding people, right? And
Because
I'm
cook
an herbalist. Okay. So
yeah.
my mother's side of the family, which my family will never want to acknowledge it, but it's the truth. My mother's side of the family, they were root doctors.
Hmm.
So it is in Tennessee state history that my great great grandfather was riding around shooting people. He looked like a Native American, and he was Native. He was indigenous to that land, right? But
Mhm.
when people got sick, they called up on my ancestors to heal them. When people got their leg broken, it was my ancestors that came and was working the root in order to heal them.
Mhm.
My great aunt is in Tennessee state history of she was a midwife and having delivered over 300 babies in Hardeman County, Tennessee. No training, just innately healers, right? So I have
Ooh.
this justice side that comes from the Paxton side that is rooted in being proud and being a good cook. And then on my mother's side that comes from the Price through the Harrison line is these healers, right? And so one day I saw my hands started to do things with herbs. And I
Hmm.
started to, as I was working with clients spiritually, I started to be able to make my own hair products. So I make my own hair products. I make my own cough. I've always made my son's own cough syrup. I was making eczema cream, like all this stuff I just naturally knew how to do is because of the power of your name. Who
Yeah.
had that name before you, right?
It's in the lineage.
It's in your lineage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm passionate about my name, as you can tell. And
Yes.
yeah.
So to your first name, really quick, did you ever have any nicknames?
I do have a nickname. So when I was born, because I was so small, I looked like a Tootsie Roll.
Mhm.
And they also said that I was making this whistling noise that sounded like just with my lips. And so my nickname is Tootsie.
Mhm.
And it's been Tootsie forever
Since then.
since then.
What did people call you in school?
Brandy and Tootsie.
Okay, so both of them went.
Yep.
Did you ever adopt a nickname for like sports or anything or theater?
Nope, I've been Brandy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever been one of a or one of more than one? I guess Brandy's in the classroom.
Never.
Never?
Never. I've always been the only Brandy.
Huh.
And it's cool because even now with other spiritualists, so I might attend something and it's like, oh, somebody will say, oh, Brandy, she's the only one at the group. Like, I'm
Mhm.
usually the only Brandy. Because really, do you need another Brandy? Not
No.
really.
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Were you ever able to find your like name on those personalized keychains or magnets or any?
No. They always have a Y.
Mhm.
And that ain't my name.
Y'all could have asked somebody before you just printed these, but yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you one more question. And I think that you've gotten to this, but just as like a final wrap up,
Mm-hmm.
for your middle and last name, those are like directly tied to lineage for you of your ancestors and your paternal side. Um, what does carrying that name mean to you that you want to pass down to
Ooh,
future generations?
very good question. Um, my father um was a very good man, very flawed. He was not perfect. Um, but I got to see the humanity in him. And I think a lot of times when people look at pastors, they forget that there is a human there.
Yep.
And I got to see my father cry. I got to nurse him back to health. My father had diabetes. I would check his diabetes every day. Um, he would get really, really sick, and I would just have to clean up after him. And it was just he and I, right? It was a very hard life, which required me to grow up much sooner, all while having the eyes of the whole wide world on you, right? And not being able to break, and doing plays and doing music and doing all these things, right? But my dad was Michael Paxton. And I do feel called to finish his work and to do and be the things that he was not and could not be because of the pressures of life. My father was a provocateur, but he had to conform as best as he could in order to make moves in life. And I don't feel those restraints. And as a person who venerates her ancestors and works very closely spiritually with our ancestors, my father guides me. He gives me words to say. He shows me scriptures to go to. He speaks to me and tells me, hey, go study this, right? And sometimes I am a provocateur, I'll be honest with you, but sometimes when people see me, they may be a little disarmed because I am so much energy and I am so off a beaten path. But I feel like it's my job to do that. I am restoring the honor of my ancestors. They chose me. They chose me. So I can't let them down.
That is so beautiful. It's so grounded that you just like, I almost want to cry. But it's so beautiful. Well, that's where we conclude for now. Tune in next week, Monday around noon, and find another episode of the Given Name podcast. If you would like to be a guest or have questions that you want to add to Given Name podcast, please at me on Threads or DM me on Instagram at awkward_PhD. Thank you so much to our guests. You can find their info in the show notes. Take care, y'all, and be safe.